Yeah, in the first CAT scan, they saw a little bit of fluid, but it was a small amount. But of course, it was one of the things I dreaded because in my work with patients, I know that the ascites is a hideous symptom to have. The ascites got worse and worse. There was one point where, any motion I felt like my abdomen was about to burst. And it makes eating very difficult because you fill up very, very quickly. It's very difficult to walk. Every step you can feel a little fluid sloshing around and, pain. So it's a very unpleasant symptom. I think, the whole thing would have been, at least 70, 80% easier to take if it hadn't been for the ascites. I did have one paracentesis before they started the chemotherapy, I think. Yeah, they took out almost 3 liters. And I did have regular paracenteses. They were getting up to 5 liters. There was one, I think they got 5.8 liters, which is huge, almost 6 liters of fluid. By not having the PleurX, I couldn't eat as well. I would fill up very rapidly. I would have a lot of pain when I walked. It would be very, very difficult to just sit upright, like if you were lying flat in bed and try to get up. It was very cumbersome. And, you take off a couple liters and those symptoms would subside. I could eat more. My capacity for food was better. I learned about the PleurX catheter through one of the radiologists who was doing the paracentesis. And he mentioned it. And from the name PleurX catheter, I assumed it was just for pleural fluid. But he said, no, it can be used for ascites as well. And it worked beautifully, because I could do it anytime I wanted. I could take a liter or 2 off. And it came out very easily and it kept me comfortable. It made a dramatic difference, I would say, in the quality of life. Before I had the PleurX catheter, it was hard for me to count on keeping appointments and dates. It would improve my mood, certainly, whenever I would drain. And it just, my overall sense of well-being improved. It was easier for me to sit up. I could sit upright for longer periods of time. I wasn't short of breath. Shortness of breath was also an issue when the ascites gets really bad. Well, first of all, it puts you in control. You don't have to go to the hospital to get the fluid taken out. And, sometimes even if the relief is marginal, it's still marginal relief. It's better than nothing. So I've never regretted it. The average person, when you think of having a tube placed in your abdomen, it can be a frightening idea. And, people think of colostomies and ureterostomies and things like that. And it's nothing like that, really. It's clean. It's unobtrusive. You get used to it very quickly. And it's got all the advantages and none of the disadvantages that I anticipated. I think, if anything, I was surprised by how easy it was. I thought it would be more difficult. You don't know how big the tube is and what the apparatus is and how the fluid actually comes out. And so once I did it and I saw it, it all made sense. The ascites sort of complicates everything because it makes everything worse. The abdominal pain, if you have it normally with ascites, it's much worse. So being able to control it with a combination of medicine and the PleurX catheter, or just the PleurX catheter alone, gives you a sense of, just some sense of mastery of the situation that you wouldn't have otherwise. I would say that there's very little to be frightened of. It's an easy technique to learn, to maintain. There's very little downside to it. And you always have the control issue that, if the ascites becomes uncomfortable, you can always drain it. Otherwise, you have to, first of all, call the hospital. You're dependent on the hospital schedule. You have to go down to the hospital. There's the waiting period, all the issues involved in being in the hospital. Whereas this way, you do it from the convenience of your bedroom. It's time at home that you can relax, read a book, watch TV, talk on the phone with friends. I think everybody feels better if they're in control. The cancer itself seems to be an uncontrollable process. So any of the symptoms that you're able to control, either with medication or with something like the PleurX catheter, I think gives you some inner gratification.